In today's video, it is going to be just a little bit different than normal. There's a couple of reasons for that. Firstly, it's about a holiday house. Secondly, is that it is going to be a bit more entertaining than it is knowledgeable, but I'm going to still put some knowledge in there. And finally, it's because I actually don't do too much buyer's agency stuff anymore, but I had an old client who I do a little bit of property development stuff with call me up and say, hey, I want to buy a holiday home. I'd love to enlist your services. I don't want it just to be a holiday home. I want some investment thought put into it as well, because when we finished with it as a toy, I don't want it to be a complete dud. And for that reason, the video is not really about me, the video is about you guys. So I thought the cool thing to chuck in the video was why I picked this property, so the investment reasons and the rationale. It's just cool to check out what you can get for $1 to $1.5 million down the southwest of WA. So let's get into it. You start with a client mandate, and same with buying an investment property, or same with buying any property, you should start with working out what you actually want, because if you don't know what you actually want, it can be quite hard to find it. And with this particular client, their client mandate was simply a budget of $1.2 to $1.3 million. They wanted lots of bedrooms because they have some extended family. They wanted to consider short stay. And the reason being is they weren't going to make it a short stay rental, but when the toy gets boring and they don't want it anymore, they didn't want it to be a complete investment dud. So they wanted to get some cash flow in from it. And also they didn't want to buy something that was going to go down in value. Now I can't ever guarantee property is going to go up. But there are some simple principles like buying well and buying in good areas and buying something that other people would want that would help limit the downside in the case of a poor market. So let's talk about what our filtration process was. The first two are quite simple. That is budget and bedrooms. They were the only client mandates, but the one that was actually a little bit more tricky than I anticipated was short stay. That dirty word, short stay. Councils across Western Australia, and the wider world are getting more hostile towards Airbnb, and there are a number of reasons for that. Number one, noise complaints and antisocial behaviour. It doesn't take much to change the outcome of a local government election. And I would say that some local lobby groups for hoteliers would not be too happy about Airbnb. And finally, I will say there is definitely a bureaucracy component of it. It's never been done before. No. Why should it be done now? But that is just an opinion, and when I talk to most councils, they would never discuss these points openly. The points which they raise as problems with Airbnb include bushfire, which I would say for Australia is quite true. As you can imagine, if you have a lot of tourists flocking into an area, no plans or prep work for getting out in the case of a bushfire, this could be quite disastrous. Then we have effluent disposal, because on average in Australia, 2.4 people live in a household. The next one comes to water, because as you can imagine, as well with sewer, you're not connected to services, and with water, you may be connected to rain tanks. So you need to have big rain tanks. And the final one is parking, because councils always get complaints about parking on the street. And this goes with all development, not just Airbnb. To sum up, it might be different for your area that you're looking for a holiday home, but in Margaret River, we need to be in a low BAL level for bushfire. We need to have a certain type of sewer system. We also need to have a certain size of rain tanks, and we need to have space for hard stand parking. So this tends to rule out a lot of properties. If you jump onto realestate.com right now, what you'll find is there's about 500 properties going on in that area. And as I said before, if you don't have a mandate in terms of what you're looking for, sifting through those 500 properties would actually be pretty hard. This one was not only a large property, it was also an operating Airbnb business. And because of that, the layout was a little bit higgledy-piggledy. And for that reason, it just was not right for us. This was a very nice home, but it was a large lifestyle block. And that was the problem. If you aren't there and you are renting it out at short stay, who's actually looking after and maintaining the property? This adds to extra costs, which is not necessarily ideal. Haynes was a great property, very nice, very well laid out, but the problem is it was too closely located to a national park, and that would impact its bushfire assessment level, and consequently, we wouldn't be able to make it a short stay. Sea Hill Crest was probably our second best option, and this is because it was a large block but very much bush-like, so you didn't have to maintain it. Very nice house. It was actually starting to get quite hard because a lot of properties were getting eliminated due to the short stay requirements. Secondly, a lot of properties were going under contract quite quickly because the market was moving along, and finally there wasn't a lot of stock on the market in the first place. So we increased our budget. We had a look at another set of properties, and this was one of those. But because they wanted me to work harder, they said, we're not going to increase the budget. Not that, no, they were happy increasing the budget for the right property, but it was more the case of the pool, the maintenance, that would be an issue. Finally, the place came up, and on inspection, there was ocean glimpses, despite what the ad said with ocean views, it was glimpses, but the coastal location was a winner, the size of the block was smaller, and the house had a lot of cool features or reasons why I liked it, and this is what I'm going to get into now. The 5 main things would be that firstly, the property was listed on the market for 1,000 days. You heard that right, 1,000 days. So that had been on the market almost 3 years. The seller now actually wanted to sell. In fact, they had received offers in the range of what we ended up paying for the property that they had rejected, and now they realized they may have overpriced the property or misunderstood the market. It did not present well. In fact, from the first viewing, we had a frog pond out the front. So when I say that there is a little bit of maintenance, it's just simple things like with cabinets, there's areas that are delaminating due to water. And we can see up here that the lintels are actually corroding because they don't have any paint left on them. The grass is all patchy and not mowed. The back of the property's got a wicked natural garden, but it just needs to be whippersnipped. And for all the people that complain about my video and audio and light quality, look at my setup now. I actually have lights. Well, they're not really my lights. I've just got some of the table lights. And it was already a short stay approved property, meaning we had already jumped through a lot of the hoops which council wanted. This is the client right now. What's going on?
I was just saying what's the house like in that?
It's not too bad. Sliding doors and coming off their rails, lights that need to be replaced with LEDs, the frog pools around the place that need to be bored out or put into garden beds, heaps to do with the garden. There's going to be a bit of just like little bits and pieces.
Yeah.
But that's good. That's why no one bought the place.
Yeah, no, exactly. And that are pretty handy too for keep busy with the project.
Most importantly, there's a Bunnings in town.
Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah.
We'll see you tonight then.
Yep, cool. See you tonight.
Cool. Okay.
See you, mate. In 2017, it was listed for $1.1 million with one agent, and almost a year and a half later, they swapped agents, as you do. The property's not selling, you swap agents, they dropped the price to $1,065,000. After another year and a half, it still did not sell. And I think the reasons why it didn't sell is firstly, as I mentioned before, the Perth market for the last 5 years has been pretty horrendous. So who would go out and buy a property in a regional area? The other thing is bushfires. So what happened was there were some bushfires in the area, burnt some properties, which the people decided to take the insurance payout, resell a block of land, and this meant that properties were selling below replacement value because these new blocks of land made it cheaper to build. And finally, the property didn't present well when we went through it. It was a short stay rental, so there was marks on the wall, there was marks on the floor, it wasn't kept up to date. And this is always potential that I see in my eyes on any property that I look to purchase. What did we pay? Well, we ended up paying $950,000 for the property, which was initially listed at $1.1 million. I do ask, if you think that's a good price, like the video. But if you think I overpaid, hit the subscribe button, because this way I'll be forced or encouraged to make more videos on negotiation, and hopefully from that be able to negotiate a better price next time. So go there and do that. Now back onto due diligence. You do all the normal things with the property like building, pest, and electrical, which came up all okay. Then you get onto services. Power, check. Also, it's worthwhile checking in little towns what's happening, because small things can have big impacts. I noticed that there's this cool little resort, or cool big resort, whatever you want to call it, getting built down the road about 5 or 6 minute walk away. For the client, that doesn't really matter to them because they've never lived in the peace and serenity of this particular area. If you are in any regional area or town, what I encourage you to do is get the bushfire maps or speak to your local council around where the bushfires area. So why do I think due diligence into bushfires is more important? If you plan to do any extensions to the property, you'll not only have to build that new structure to a code that's compliant with the bushfire regs, you'll also have to get this bushfire report, which costs money, and a bushfire plan. The other thing which hasn't necessarily happened yet is insurance companies, if you're in a bushfire area, are requesting, if it's in a bushfire area, to get a bushfire grade so that they know the risk on their books. And finally, it's because council stopping short stay in areas of high risk bushfire zones. In the cheesiest possible real estate voice, which I already have anyway, let's go through I should have warned you in advance that I'm no good at making real estate videos. We've got just one bedroom. We've got one. Then we've got 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, 4 bedrooms, 5 bedrooms, 6 bedrooms in the house, which is quite, I don't even know what I'm saying. We'll do it again. As I mentioned at the start, this is a bit more of an informal vlog style video, so I'd be keen for 2 things. Firstly, number 1, hit that subscribe button, but more importantly, go down there and comment. I'd be keen to get your feedback around what you think about the informal vlog style, if you want to go back to more educational videos or more of this content. As always, I'm keen to get your feedback and then produce what you guys would love to see.